Now we're going to start our second career panel on the new job search and hear from recruiters and hiring professionals about how you can stand out and find a career in the changing job market.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the career panel titled The New Job Search. My name is Amy Entris, and I'm the Entrepreneurship Development Manager for Veterans Florida. So thank you again to all of you for being here today, and thank you to our sponsor, Bank of America, who is supporting us in putting this virtual expo on. So to get started today, we're going to go around and have a brief introduction by all of our panelists. Mr. Bencomo, we'll get started with you.
Hi, my name is Anthony Bencomo, and I'm a recruiter here at Lockheed Martin. I've been a recruiter at Lockheed Martin for 15 years, and thank you so much for taking the time to invite me to be part of this panel.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Mr. Turner, we'll go with you next.
Yes, hi. Bobby Turner. I'm here representing Bank of America. I am a retired Army First Sergeant, retired 1 September 2018, started with Bank of America 4 September 2018. I took 3 days off. And I lead our veterans recruiting efforts across the enterprise. And happy to be here with you guys and answer any questions for you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Kenlock?
Hi, how are you? My name is John Kinlock, and I'm currently representing HR Florida State Council as the current treasurer, but I also serve as the City of Orlando's employment supervisor in the last 12 years in that capacity, and I have been basically doing employment for literally 25 years.
Wow. Wow. Well, we appreciate the expertise you bring to this panel today, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So let's go ahead and get started. So in light of recent events, what changes have your companies made recently to find qualified candidates?
First one to speak up.
Please.
We're looking at online job fairs. We've used that through our, we post to niche job board sites to try and attract certain applicants. And we've been using those online job fairs pretty extensively as a way to get out in front of the people that we can't physically do right now because of the COVID situation. Prior to COVID, though, we were really getting into Facebook Live for our sworn positions for OPD, and not only having that live experience insofar as showing what the assessments they were going through, discussing the assessments, and actually having live chat as to what the standards are, what the expectations were, and it's actually proven to be quite successful.
Here at Lockheed, we've, I guess for us, our biggest changes is we've been utilizing Zoom interviews, video interviews, more for face-to-face interviews, since obviously folks can't come in for face-to-face. So we've definitely done that. I mean, we've obviously used quite a bit our online applicant tracking, our Lockheed Martin Jobs website to find candidates, and obviously, and also speaking with our military relations, they also mentioned that they're hosting a lot more events online and doing more video type of like job fair type things where they're able to kind of see folks more face to face. So obviously that's kind of the move and the wave of we've going into.
Yeah, in Bank of America, I would say I thought about the question, would it have changed? But as I look at it, for us, a lot hasn't really changed. When I came into Bank of America, one of the main things I noticed is myself as being a military, retiring from the military, we just don't have the information, right? So you don't know what you don't know. So that was one of my first tasks was to make sure we get the information out to our veterans. So I started already doing a lot of online information sessions, whether that's with universities, with our Soldiers for Life transition assistance programs on our military installations. So my whole thing is all about educating our veterans what's out there, because everybody here Bank of America, and they think I do not want to be a tailor. but they do not understand that Bank of America, half of our workforce is tech. So
Yeah.
not a whole lot of changes, but a lot of information sessions on top of online job fairs. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that information. You know, this panel is designed to help our veterans and our audience members try to navigate kind of the unknown waters right now in terms of finding a job. For some, it's finding a new job. Others, it's just, you know, others who are trying to recreate themselves so that they can stay competitive. So in light of that, we'll kind of go to the other side. What trends have you seen in recruiting lately? Any different trends? Any changes to how veterans are recruited, for instance, or any recruitment changes?
Well, yeah.
Right now, I would probably say there's more of an increased automation around candidate matching. We've seen a little bit more of that, kind of, which highlights obviously the importance of, you know, candidates tailoring the resumes to the positions that they're looking for. You know, I think that's kind of one of the big areas. I mean, obviously with unemployment rising, you know, there's definitely been an influx of additional candidates applying to open positions. So it's even more important to, you know, being so competitive to, you know, kind of how candidates, you know, put their information in their resume in order to be seen when you're kind of vying you know, with so many others.
I would add to that from our perspective for the city, as well as what I see trending wise, is there isn't anyone that doesn't have a cell phone. And there's a lot of more effective use of mobile technology that I think some people just take for granted. When you're doing personal things, it becomes second nature, but you actually don't consider it from a professional perspective. And I'm not sure why that it is. They don't see the carryover perhaps, but I think it's very important to recognize that mobile technology is very important. The other thing that I would say in that regard is the mobile technology, texting and chatting and whatever, affords you the opportunity to build some relationships, perhaps not necessarily to land that job just yet, but to establish a presence that otherwise you didn't have access to previously.
And myself, no real trends, just on an employer's perspective. I would tell candidates to just be patient out there. There's across the board, there's just a lot of jobs have been just not taken off the job boards, just put on hold temporarily. So I would just tell the candidates, be patient, do not give up. The jobs will come back on the job board slowly as this country reopens. So just be a little patient, don't give up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good segue into the next discussion topic, which is what kind of advice you have for job seekers. What are some best approaches in this new job market?
Oh God, yeah, I'll take that one. Because myself, I always talk about precision recruiting. And actually, I was artillery 5 years in the Army and 16 years in recruiting. So everything I do is all about precision recruiting. I hate wasting time. I like to target what we need. But we need to put some ownership on the actual candidates now. The candidates need to do more precision job seeking. They need to narrow it down to, is it Lockheed Martin? Is it, you know, do they want to work for the city? Is it Bank of America? And they have to know the why they want to work with that organization. And then, like myself, when I found out, I did a lot of research in Bank of America. I wanted to look at the culture because that was the most important thing for me. So I leveraged that, used LinkedIn, and I targeted I went in the search box and I typed every single person in Charlotte, North Carolina that works for Bank of America, and I started sending connect. And before I knew it, recruiters started talking to me. You know, they started looking at my background. And then I started conversing with them for over a year before I retired. And then I wound up actually leading the veterans recruiting program for Bank of America. So you have to really target and know what it is you want to do when you get out of the military. and know why you want to work for that company. Is it pay? Is it culture? Is it, they just got to figure that piece out. So I would say target companies that you really want to work for. And in this environment, they got to network. If they think they're going to take a chance of just applying for 100 jobs on your job board and make it, it's not going to happen. You must network and at least get to know 5 to 10 people in that organization where you're having regular conversations with weekly on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or what have you. So networking and precision job seeking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what Bobby said, and I sometimes will use the example of obviously we do a bunch of staffing, a different variety of staffing, but I tell folks, even my own friends about this when they're going to apply for something. A lot of times what tends to happen is, one, as a candidate, you don't give yourself enough credit for certain skills and certain ideas that you have. So a lot of times what I would recommend and tell people is look for roles that you are interested in. And look at those keywords and look at all the different things that they're looking for, the descriptors of those words and key elements that they're looking for. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times, since we may possibly not give ourselves, we'll say, well, they're supposed to have that skill. Well, guess what? A recruiter doesn't know what it is and what it isn't. So a lot of times, if you're able to look for the type of roles that you're looking for, and maybe even find similar ones and use some of those descriptor words and incorporate those into your resume, it makes it a lot easier when you're doing that precision that Bobby mentioned, to kind of be more precise of what exactly they're looking for. I'm definitely not saying for you to just, hey, this job requires these 5 skills, I'm going to add these 5 skills. If you don't have them, you should not put them. But if you have them, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that you incorporate those and you tailor your resume for the job that you want, and the job that you're looking to get into. Especially if if you're going to go, let's say, using an example, if you were going to do a job for one for the city or one for Bank of America or or Lockheed Martin, you're going to want to obviously make sure you tailor it based on what the job is, as well as also what the job is looking for. It makes it a heck of a lot easier for you to kind of stand out and for them to be able to see those things.
I would just add to that, again, the networking is the key, establishing those relationships. I can't begin to tell you how I'm over 2,000 LinkedIn contacts, and I've been very successful in helping others find opportunities that way. But also I would say this too, is don't discount volunteer opportunities in your community. Again, because I work for the city of Orlando, we're looking at that volunteer corps, if you will, as a feeder pool for regular employment. And the idea is, from a passion perspective, that's ultimately your brand. You show your passion for something, and then you have an acumen for it. So let's say, for instance, you're looking to get into something, but there's no regular opportunity there yet. Volunteer, build that brand recognition for yourself, and then it may segue all very nicely into an opportunity that presents itself maybe in the future.
Yeah, you bring up really, really great points. And Mr. Turner, I love that term, precision job searching, because there's so many opportunities out there. And once you make yourself open to a recruiter, usually your phone just starts ringing off the hook. So that's really good advice to our audience. And to continue that discussion, how does a job seeker customize their digital resume or their online application to make it through the to make it through the system in order to make it to a decision maker in the organization?
So I know for me as a recruiter, one of the things that I tend to look at is the job description, which is obviously tells you what the position's about. I look at the basic qualifications, and I look at all the keywords and all the different elements that they're looking for, the manager's looking for. Those are usually kind of like the ingredients that I'm looking for then within the folks that have applied to the position. One thing that I always like to tell, and and a lot of the things that I'm mentioning are things that I tell my own friends and family about, for any type of role, not just within our our corporation. is, obviously if you see positions that you're interested in and that you're qualified for, you're definitely going to want to apply to them. But you definitely want to make sure, like kind of like the whole idea that Bobby mentioned, I love that terminology, precision recruiting. You want to make sure that you tailor your resume for that job. If that job says I'm looking for XYZ, skill, and you have it, then you're going to want to make sure you incorporate it that way into your resume. A lot of different areas and a lot of different companies have the ability for you to have, for you to format your resume to tailor it, and maybe have multiple versions of a resume when you go apply. I know for us, we have about 5, you can put up a variation of 5 different versions of your resume. So you can tailor it depending on what the role is that you're looking to apply for. But, definitely meet the basic qualifications for the role, and then showcase those things and incorporate those things on your resume.
Yeah. And,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of that, as well as that one question would take me back to the networking piece. I will never apply for a job without having some type of inside personnel to hand that resume to. So if you network I guess that's like a pet peeve of mine. Network and as John said, building relationships on social media. You can do that on social media. You can do it via volunteering. You can do that by we got ACP, America Corporate Partners. Bank of America is a part of that, and where we mentor 50 of their just 50 soldiers. And Bank of America say, you know what? As a matter of fact, I just picked up a mentor a week ago. So I just emailed them, hey, we're going to talk twice a week, or once every 2 weeks, and I'm going to mentor you. So now that the person that I'm mentoring, he has an inside person now to hand a resume to take a look at that resume and say, you know what, let's work on this. So me, before I hand a resume to a recruiter like Anthony, I'm absolutely vetting it, because I am not screwing up my reputation over Anthony. Don't you hate seeing messed up resumes, right? So
That is correct.
right. So I want that recruiter or that hiring manager to say, Bobby, tell that guy to apply for this rec right here. So if that individual, that recruiter or that hiring manager tells me that, now I know that individual have at least a 50% better chance of landing at least exploratory conversation with that recruiter or hiring manager. So
I would just add also, with all of the relationship building, that one of the things I say to people is, a lot of times, and it's almost a habit, when you do your resume, you list your job duties. Again, when we talk about veterans, avoid acronyms that may be confusing or misinterpreted. Spell things out and come up with some quantifiable accomplishments. I always say, you know what you do, because that's what you did for so many years. Now, what makes you who you are, that's your accomplishments, and you want to have those compelling accomplishments out there, because that's going to distinguish you from someone else. And if you write it well enough, even if you haven't done a good networking I would encourage that. But even if you haven't, it might actually get somebody interested in saying, hey, you know what, I want to talk to this guy. That sounds like somebody I'd like to have work for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all excellent, valid points when it comes to job seeking. And we've briefly discussed how much of an impact that social media has. Well, we've talked more about networking and using our social media like LinkedIn, Facebook to our advantage. But can you all kind of discuss how much social media really does impact one's ability to find a job and ultimately get that job? And we can discuss the positives and the negatives of it.
Well, I would tell you, I used my experience earlier. Like I said, once I figured out who and where I wanted to work, what company I wanted to work for, and what platform did I really want to use. All right, so like I said, LinkedIn, a lot of veterans go to LinkedIn. I don't know why. It's just, I guess during our transition, they tell us to go on LinkedIn, to build a LinkedIn profile. So that's probably the best advice I took transitioning out of the military. Because like I said, once I figured it out, it was Bank of America. Now I was able to target Bank of America without them knowing I was targeting them and having conversations. So that's what started me having conversations with recruiters and hiring managers. And so social media, pick what platform you want to use and what platform is best for you. Because some people it may be Facebook, some it may be Instagram. For me, it was 100% LinkedIn. So pick a platform you want to use, target a company, and execute and get a job.
One thing that I would probably recommend, at least like, you know, and obviously depending on the corporation you have, there's different areas, especially if they're hiring veterans. Obviously, we're a huge company that hires many veterans. Like on our website, we already have something called Military Connect that allows someone to actually go in and actually be able to apply and show that they're former military, they're current military, which obviously then connects them to various people. It also has resources kind of like a, you know, military skills translator, which obviously is huge when you're transitioning, trying to figure out and convert from, you know, what you're doing military wise. So, I mean, there's definitely LinkedIn, obviously very, you know, obviously it's a lot of times it's not about just what you know, but who you know as well, which also helps. So the more people that are on your side. So I definitely agree with Bobby and John when it comes to the idea of LinkedIn, but obviously at the same time, obviously, if you can connect with folks within the corporation that you're trying to get into, you know, via their organizations or certain areas like a Military Connect, that definitely helps. It makes your life, you know, the more people that know you, the better it is to kind of be pulling for you to kind of get an opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times social media you get some negative things too that you have to be careful of. Your online presence is your business card. That's your calling card, just like your resume is your calling card. And for all intents and purposes, I personally keep Facebook separate from LinkedIn and Twitter and some of my other social medias because, you know, one's for friends and one's for professional. And that's the face that I want to have forward is my professional face. I say it because it comes very blasé sometimes that, you know, people just go out there and say things and then now you read about who's getting fired because they said something really unfortunately dumb. So you don't want to do that because if you're going out there, you want to put your best foot forward. And I would also say too, while you're on social media, to Anthony's point, there are subgroups out there. And I would say just like in-person presence, like you look for trade organizations or groups that, you know, are like for me, human resources. I've been involved with human resource HR Florida for almost since I've been to Florida for 20 years. That's how I got my first certification. And the reason why I reached out is I said, I'm looking to get certified. Who would help me? And that's why and it's just grown from there. So you don't discount the fact that there are natural networks out there for you to plug into.
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Kinlock, it's almost like you read my mind because I was really hoping you'd bring out just some really important views and perspectives when it comes to when you're looking for a job, how other professionals or business owners or recruiters might view you and make a judgment without even having a conversation. So it is very prudent to take a look at your online presence. And I also want to mention too that Veterans Florida offers help with rewriting a resume and also with interview skills. So any of our audience members, if you're interested in that, you can go on our website and sign up for that. So with that being said, are there any other tips that you can offer to our veterans to assist them with job seeking?
One of mine, I think I got one thing. Well, two. Well, the first one would be self-ID. Is huge. For some reason, our veterans are afraid sometimes to self-ID as a veteran because they think it's going to be held against them. I'm telling you, I'm here to approve this message. That is a false. As a matter of fact, us that's in HR, we understand that it depends on how your resume get looked at. You know, you have internal candidates and you have veterans, and if you don't mark yourself as a veteran, one, no one's going to know that, and you'll never get, like, I will never see or get to work with you, because my sole purpose in life at Bank of America is to oversee our veterans recruiting program. So self ID is huge, and that's for both disabled veterans as well. Do not think that this is going to be held against you. I'm here to tell you that as a disabled veteran, please, self ID is huge. You do not want to, you do not want to mark yourself as a veteran or disabled veteran. And two, just when you're on these job fairs, like Recruit Military job fairs and SAC and Mojos and all of that, and you're at home as a candidate, as employers, we're at home too. So just keep in mind, sometimes we may get interrupted, that we may have a disconnection with our internet or something like that. Because in the past, I've had people, oh my God, Bank of America's not even here. They've been off for 15 minutes. I'm a human being. I have an internet just like you. And sometimes it disconnects. Be patient on these platforms and watch what you say, because what you say may just turn me completely off, and I may not, I may just tune you completely out and you miss out on the opportunity. So those would be my two things.
Thank you.
I wanted to say about the veteran's preference, or the identifying as a veteran. Being that I'm a public agency, we give preference. You actually get preference in the selection process. If you're deemed minimally qualified as we go forward, there are certain steps that must be taken that you as a veteran will be afforded by us as a public sector employer through the state of Florida. I mean, we have to do it. And I will tell you, as a former veteran myself, I made sure that that was taken care of. So be prepared to have your DD-214 available, or just like a resume. And it just becomes second nature that you automatically send it along. It's like page 2 or page 3 of your resume. Don't be embarrassed. In fact, be proud of that you've served. There's natural leadership abilities that come from that. And a lot of employers recognize that. So that's the other point I was going to make, is just don't discount your leadership qualities and try to quantify those, because it's very important. It shows a lot of maturity that employers are looking for.
Yeah, those are all great points, and I definitely think that the whole, everything, a lot of it comes down to like the idea of the networking aspect of it, which means make sure to take advantage of all the resources that you have available to you. Organizations like yours, Veterans Florida, take advantage of these organizations. They offer you resources to be able to do, to get you to that goal. So take advantage of those things, network with those people, do those events, look for areas within your community that you're looking, within that, to try to be able to, and then obviously when the time comes and you're ready to get to do for an interview, do your research. Obviously you want to make sure you do your research. You want to make sure that, especially now in a time where we're all doing Zoom type interviews, you want to make sure that you're prepared, your technology set up, right lighting, all those type of things. Be prepared for all those things, because it's a little nerve-wracking when you are going through that interview process, especially now, like kind of like how Bobby mentioned it. We're doing it in an atmosphere where you're currently home, so things happen, dogs bark, there's certain things that you have to be prepared for, to be able to kind of be able to show the right foot forward, to be able to show that when you're portraying and projecting yourself in a panel type of interview with other folks.
So with that being said, what do you do if your dog barks or something like that? What do you recommend?
So, I mean, there is a mute button. I mean, you can mute it. You can, say kind of like one moment type of thing like that. I mean, there are ways to do it. I mean, obviously everyone has seen it. Everyone's seen the Zoom video fails and things of that nature. So, I mean, it's obviously something that happens. But I think also if you're going to have an interview and you can control certain things, phones on mute, perfect example. My daughter's here. I said, hey, go outside, play with friends. So that way it's like, what I mean? Like, you try to figure it out. You make it a priority and you show that it's a priority.
And with Anthony, when Anthony says make 100%, so it's almost like just you're prepping, right, for your interview. So you got to get rid of all distractors. Anything that you think may distract you, you absolutely got to get rid of it. So yeah, so that and I would say if you just have a laptop, also get yourself a screen, put your notes on that other screen so it looks like you're still looking directly into the camera and not taking your face off the camera, looking at paper, looking at print notes or anything like that. So invest in a $30-$40 screen and monitor and put your notes up there and and just prep, research that company. Always know about the company's culture though. Like I think that is huge because a company they're going to say like, what? That's one of my first questions. Why Bank of America? And it always seems to stump someone. Like, but that's one of the. If you don't know anything else, know why you want to join that team.
Yeah, that's incredible advice. And for some reason, we were talking about these things. I suddenly felt very guilty. So I think I'm going to have to clean up my act here. But yeah, I have a lot of air traffic where I live. And unfortunately, I don't have much control over that. So anyhow, yeah, but that mute button is key. So that's great advice. Speaking of which.
I must confess that I have a dog that likes to photobomb or zoom bomb. He doesn't really bark. He just jumps into the picture. Like if I was at home right now, he would be sitting behind me on the couch or something like that. It's like, so sometimes, you just have to go with the flow.
Correct.
Yeah, I think humor is also kind of a very important piece of all of this too. We have to kind of be able to keep smiling, keep it professional, but just keep going and do the best we can do. So, all right. Well, I think that's it for today. So, do any of you have anything else any other comments or anything you'd like to add to this recording?
I just think patience and persistence is the key.
Okay.
I would say, one, thank you for everything that you do for us. Especially obviously as a civilian, I definitely am very grateful. I mean, obviously I work for a wonderful company that values our veterans and we definitely never forget who we work for. So it's one of those where I definitely appreciate the time being a part of this panel. I would definitely say, obviously as a recruiter, do your research. The one thing that I jokingly have told my wife, she's a speech therapist, so it's like totally random than anything I would hire. And I told her, I said, look up different jobs that are speech therapists, look up all the keywords. I'm like, and then add those things to your resume or as skills that you may have possibly have had that you have no idea or you're not giving yourself enough credit for. And build that resume, have people review it, take advantage of Veterans Florida, being able to review it, have other people that you find as peers or mentors, have them review it. And definitely, obviously, do that precision, figure out the job you want and then focus on that resume to fit that job. So that way you are being, you go through that first filter of when a recruiter looks at it and then be prepared for the interview and to do your thing to get that job when you do have that opportunity to interview.
Yeah. And I would just close with Amy. Yeah. Thank you guys, you and Chris, for inviting myself to this platform. And just for the applicants out there, everything you do in life is like, I always live by those 3 M's. It's got to be memorable, measurable, and meaningful. And if you can hit on those 3 things during an interview, you will be fine. And the whole research piece, the importance of the research is, if I knew Anthony was going to be from Lockheed Martin, is going to be interviewing me today, or Bobby Turner, or John, I'm going to your LinkedIn. I need to know, what did John do in the military? Was Anthony in the military? I needed to be a conversation and not an interview, because if I leave that interview and I felt like I just had an interview, I'm probably not going to get the job. If it felt like a conversation, then you know what? I probably did pretty good. So research, and network, and you're good.
Yes. So thank you to all of you for participating. Thank you for your patience in the beginning as we got started. So Really appreciate you offering to do this for us today. And I know every bit of advice that you've given today will definitely be a huge benefit to our audience members and our veterans. So I can't thank you enough. So, all right. Well, go
My
for
pleasure.
wonderful things.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks,
Thank you.
Anthony. Bye, John. Thank you. Take care.